I wanted to kind of continue with the question you have because that was a really good one. That's the main thing I think I took from dance that has applied to everything in life is just learning how to take rejection, right? And then taking it maybe as redirection, right, versus rejection. So it's like, okay, I was told no in this situation. What does that mean? What information am I getting that I can apply now so that way I can kind of change my inputs and get a different output, right? So I think that was like the biggest thing because after I got back from dancing professionally, I was in China, actually Beijing, and I got a call. My dad had a stroke. Yeah, it was really unsettling, right? I was like living my dream, but at the same time, there was all this stuff going on back at home. So it was an interesting period of time. But when I came back, I wanted to...
Welcome to the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Kidd, where every week we dive deep into conversations with real estate pros, business owners, and maritime professionals about their mindset and journey to success. Please help support us on our journey and our channel by liking, subscribing, and commenting below so we can help you in your journey to success.
Welcome to the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast. I'm Scott Kidd. Today I have a friend of mine, Josh Washington. For the people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Josh.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for letting me be on the podcast. Super excited to be here. A little bit about me. I've been in marketing for about 10 years now. Specifically helping real estate professionals with raising capital, setting up the capital raising arm of their business, staying accountable, and overall just scaling their businesses as fast as possible. Funny story, before I got into capital raising, I was actually a professional dancer, got to travel the world doing something that I loved, which is a fun story we could probably get into. But yeah, that's a little bit about me from San Diego, California. Not a Chargers fan though; they're traders.
Nice.
Yeah, but other than that, it's good. Life's good.
Oh, great. Well, that's a pretty interesting backstory. Tell us a little bit about how you made that transition from private dancer to marketing and raise masters and raising capital and helping out in real estate.
Right on. Private dancer sounds a little bit different than what I did.
Well, not private dancer. I meant professional dancer.
Right
Private dancer. Sorry. Wrong profession.
Wrong profession. But yeah, being from San Diego, there was this dance crew called the Jabbawockeez. And I remember seeing them on TV. They got first place on this America's Best Dance Crew, and they were super inspiring to me at the time. So I just wanted to know what it felt like to kind of move to music like they did, right? So I pretty much at that point made it a goal, like, okay, I want to see if I can make that happen. And funny enough, the way I was able to do that, there were two things. One, of course, a lot of hard work. I took classes. I traveled to where they were at whenever they were teaching. Luckily enough, I knew a few people who actually had gotten onto the crew. So I asked them about their experience. And then the second thing that I did was just posting a lot of videos of myself online, pretty much trying to get their attention. So even before I kind of knew what I was doing, I was marketing myself using content, social media, Facebook. I posted a lot on Facebook, built up a pretty good following. And it took a couple knocks on the door, right? Like, in forth them 2 times, drove up to Vegas with some friends. The first time I didn't even make it past the first like audition round they had. Second time, a little bit closer, right? So started feeling that I was making some progress. And then finally, the third time I auditioned, I made the team and got to travel the world, be on a couple TV shows. So it was definitely a life-changing experience.
Wow, it's really cool. It's a whole world out there if you just go for it. It's just, a good tip that you had to do it a few times and you had to keep doing it. So I imagine there was a lot of practice sessions, probably almost every day. And you got to be in really good shape to be a professional dancer, not private dance. Well, private dancers, they do training too. But
Yeah.
professional dancer, you're doing that probably daily, doing workouts and doing everything that because you gotta be able to. I mean, probably some of those sessions are pretty long. I would imagine pretty intense.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of work, a lot of transformation too. So, believe it or not, back in like high school, I was pretty overweight. Yeah, I was still active and I still was dancing, but I just didn't have good habits when it came to like nutrition, right? You don't know what you don't know. So, like one of the transformations I had to go through was like learning how to work out and learning how to eat right. So that way my body could handle, what was required to dance. Like when I was training, it was like 8 hours a day. Like I'd either be in the
Wow.
gym, I would be practicing with myself, practicing with friends. So yeah, it was a lot of reading books, right?
Yeah.
How I learned about like working out. Also some Reddit threads, I would check those out. So it's funny because I feel like a lot of the things that I did dance wise kind of prepared me for the transition into like marketing, storytelling, and even coaching, right? Because I was
Yeah.
able to push myself to reach this, like, honestly, I kind of think about like becoming a Jabberwocky, kind of like making the NBA or like
Hmm.
one of those like professional like sports leagues, right? Because you have to
Yeah.
get to like 1% of what you're doing, right? You have to be at the top. Uh, so it was definitely a journey, and I feel like I learned a lot, which helped me with my coaching as well.
Well, I find it pretty interesting that, a lot of times people think when they're starting and going into another career, they don't think, because people tell them, oh, you're going into marketing, but you're a professional dancer. It's got nothing to do with what, and I was like, well, interesting enough, I was marketing myself the whole time. So you knew probably more about social media and like all these other things that it took, and like to get to that 1%, you had to be kind of relentless and just kind of keep going, have the mindset to really just kind of stop at nothing, to keep going and keep going and keep going. Because imagine there's a lot of like, if you're working out and training 8 hours a day, you're probably tired, and you got to sleep a lot, and then can be pretty draining mentally. So,
Yeah,
I would say anyone that played any kind of like professional sport, which I would compare this to a professional sport, because it's very draining mentally, and there's not like there's an off season or anything
no,
like that either. So, your added benefit is that you kept learning and you kept adding skills that, you would need, that unbeknownst to you, it ended up being like the next path for you.
exactly. I feel like if you're able to look, you can always see how things that you've done in your past have prepared you kind of for where you're at now, right? You
Hmm.
can always take like past successes and look for, okay, what did I do in this situation that I can take that'll help me in this next one? So uh,
Hmm.
that's one thing I always try to encourage, like whether it's capital raisers that I'm coaching, or operators, like learning something new. Because often people who come to me, like they're trying to learn how to raise capital, and this is something that's not necessarily their strength or what they're.
Hmm.
So I always try to tell them, look, you've got skills that have got you to the point you're at. All we need to do is find those specific skills and then find a way to transfer them over. And usually that's encouraging, and then they're able to like change their perspective.
Yeah, and I've told people similar things, like when people tell you, well, you don't have the skills for this, like, well, instead of taking that, really hard, look at what skills you do have. Like maybe you're really good at talking to people, or maybe you're really good at analyzing the deal, or you're really good at organization. Maybe you double down, you get a CRM software or something like that, and you optimize that, because that's not was never I've never had a sales job or anything in my life. I was always in the operations side. But
Okay.
I was, trained myself to be good at speaking to people at a young age, because I knew that if I wasn't able to communicate with other people, I wasn't going to be able to get or find the right people that I needed. So, the CRM part was never really a big, I didn't really understand how valuable that is, and tracking and measuring who you're talking to, how many calls you're making a day, and how many people you're talking to a day, and what the results were, and everything else. But I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, and thus, I'm able to build those relationships a little easier. And long term, it helps. I see like the smoke kind of clearing or whatever, where it's like, okay, this is how valuable this actually is, because like a couple years from now, I can look through here and go, okay, all the people that I need for this are in this part and that part. And, so it's skills that I already had, like you said, I was good at talking to people. So my idea was always to just get in front of as many people as possible, be able to talk to as many people. But if I can't track or handle or don't remember who I talk to, then it doesn't really matter whether I talk to one person or 100, because I'm not making those quality relationships.
That's exactly right.
Like speed dating or dating. It's like speed dating, you might not remember, your head will probably be spinning at the end of it, and you don't remember who you talk to and everything else. Whereas if you go on quality ones at a time and track everything, then you kind of build that rapport. And I remember when I first got in Raise Masters and was talking to you, you were kind of, okay, looked over the website and you're like, well, who's your avatar? Who are you focusing on? And just drill down, on that. And that was very helpful, because I see the payoff from it now, because like niching down to that particular person, it wasn't excluding everyone else. It was actually just showing that you have a purpose and you were kind of more direct, and it was clear what you were doing. So then other people naturally kind of gravitate towards that.
Exactly. There's an analogy I like to use where, like with anything online, social media, marketing, especially now, it's like being in a really crowded room or like a crowded party, right? And if I just am in a party and I just say, hey, you, right?
Yeah.
Maybe someone will turn around and it might get attention, right? It might not be the right person though, right? So if you're able to get more specific and I'm like, hey, Scott, right? I'm more likely to get your attention. If I say, hey, Scott Kidd, then boom, right? I'm probably going to get your attention. And so it's the exact same thing. It's really helpful to narrow down, because you need to get that specific in order to stop someone from scrolling and get them to pay attention to what you're doing.
And it helped also refine kind of like the content that I was putting out, and what did I want to say to people, because something that I learned immediately that I knew before was, because I don't just immediately start talking about the deals and stuff you're doing, because anybody can talk about that, but what they really need to know is who you are and what your character is.
Right. That's 100%. At the end of the day, people want to know that you are someone they can trust. Right? They want to be able to you have to be likable, but the only way for someone to like someone, you have to kind of show a little bit of your personality. You got to be a little bit vulnerable even, right?
Yeah.
So that way we can create that human connection. And then after you get those two things, right, that's when you can start giving them the information that you know they need. Afterwards.
And it's just like with any relationship, you want to get to know the people first before you tell them what everything's all about, because I started our meetups and stuff because I went to a whole bunch of meetups and all they did was try to sell us something. It was the hard sell, funnel you to the back of the room and sell the coaching, sell the books, sell the calls, the programs, the everything. And I didn't end up meeting anybody at these places that I resonated with. I didn't learn anything. It was pretty frustrating and discouraging.
Yeah.
But eventually I went to one where everyone was just kind of hanging out, talking about real estate, talking about what they were doing and what the problems they were having, and everyone was trying to help each other kind of figure out what they were doing. And I said, well, can't do the other one, but I can do this. I mean, because
Right.
I'm actually learning from all these people. And there was one that I went to where everyone just kind of stood up, said their name, what they were looking for, and what problem they're having. And immediately, like, people would go to them and say, hey, I'm a broker, or I have some capital, I'm a lender, or what have you. And so eventually started my own meetup and collaborated with some other people. But it just kind of, showed that you got to build that relationship first. And, people will resonate with that more. And it doesn't, we kind of made a rule that's a hard and fast rule with our meetups and stuff. And I kind of do this with other meetings that I go to. Like, if there's no soliciting. Like, if somebody immediately starts talking about their deal, it's usually it is a big turnoff, because I don't know your name, I don't know what you're all about, I don't even know who you are. It's because that people a lot of times won't remember what you said to them or what you did for them, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Right. That's a very good statement.
Yeah, I think that's very important. What do you find, like, with because you talk to a range of people and race masters and stuff like that, where what are you seeing, like, the sentiment of people that you're talking to today? Are they pretty excited about the future, or are they, depending on what asset class I would imagine they're in, some are probably up and down?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I can say about, like, the overall mood or vibe of the people that I've been talking with, operators and fund managers, there's definitely more of a positive outlook for the future. Let's say, like, the last year, 18 months has been pretty tough, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's deal flow, people being a little bit more tight with capital. But I would say in the last 3 months, I've been seeing people starting to get more deals, things starting to pick up a little bit. Investor sentiment is changing. There's bonus depreciation is back.
Yeah.
People have been able to successfully raise more money. So just like based on the ear that I have to the ground, it feels like things are starting to take a turn, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I've been talking to quite a few with our development stuff, a lot of different equity groups, family offices and stuff, and they're like, all of a sudden they're getting flooded with deals and stuff like that, and they've been kind of, the larger groups, they have a certain amount they have to put out all the time, so they're a little more consistent. They have been on the fence and pulled back in the last 18 months. Some of them have been. Some of them have kept on going, because that's what they do. But I would say the same, and especially with the retail investors as well, that I don't think they're on the fence anymore. They're, now that the bonus depreciation is back, and we're looking like the sentiment is maybe the rates will come down a little bit. I don't know where they'll be. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I gave up trying to figure that one out, because they're like a historical average of, but where we got a whole bunch of other things. The economy is pretty complex, but they do go down. It could be a little bit of a boom for everyone, a little more movement. People might get a little more excited, but I don't see them changing too much. But I do like that the sentiment is kind of shifting towards a more positive outlook, because I'm a very positive person anyway, and I get tired of everyone, the doom and gloom. Just you can, it's what you make it. I mean, sure, you have to, the last couple of years you've had to put in a lot more work to do the same kind of things. But what's next for Josh? What is Josh working on these days?
Yeah, it actually kind of ties in what you were saying about how, or we were talking about how sentiment changed and how, things were a little bit more difficult, probably like 12 months back. One thing I will say, the people who were consistent with planting those seeds, meaning like marketing, right, telling stories, letting people be able to know, like, and trust them, they're going to be the ones who are actually going to have the easiest time raising capital now that things are shifting, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the only time you can take advantage of a headwind is when you already built the sails for your ship to kind of push you forward, right?
Yeah, nice analogy. I like that one because I came up with this one that you can't catch the wave from the beach. You got to be in the water.
Exactly.
Be paddling because you can't. There's no chance that you're going to catch it because by the time you get out in the water, it's gone.
Exactly.
Exactly. People, that's the same one, the sports analogy where people always say you got to be on the field to win the game. You can't be on the sidelines. You just can't. I mean, and I do believe that's true. Like if you've been out there and continuously hustling and pushing forward, maybe you don't feel like you were making a lot of traction or things like that, but you were because people were getting to know you and know who you are and what you do and everything else. And it's a long game anyway. All of this stuff, especially marketing, real estate, all those things are, it's not going anywhere. In real estate in general, it's a long game, and in any business, you have to have a marketing plan.
Exactly, because that's the first step to going back to what we were talking about, building those relationships, right? It's better to go deep than it is to go wide, right? Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been focusing on now, is helping people out with going deep when it comes to their storytelling, their marketing, so that way they're able to create those relationships with their ideal client, whether that's investors, maybe specifically they target veterans, right? I have somebody who works specifically with doctors. So, just helping those people, one, kind of tell them their story. The hardest thing to fix or the hardest hurdle to get over is just getting visibility, right? Overcoming obscurity, right? And that's like putting things out, like having a plan with your content, doing a podcast or having a podcast, talking about what you're doing. So that's what I've been focusing on now, is helping people out with their marketing, still doing coaching, helping people out with staying accountable, right? I like setting big goals, right? When I say I didn't say I wanted to be on the second or third best dance crew in the world. I wanted to be with the number one.
Yeah, so. And that's a good goal. Like for me, whenever I was playing any sport, I didn't like basketball, soccer, whatever. I didn't want to play on the scrub field. I wanted to play, even if I was the worst guy on the best field. I was like, at least I'm in the game, playing with the best. So I have an opportunity to get better. Or at least I'm playing on the best field that I can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's going on. With me, just continuing to help people out and help them raise some money, set up their marketing, things like that.
Do you see, are there any like particular tools you like to use, or is it pretty, I know everyone has, AI is a big buzzword with everyone, and I've gone down the rabbit hole on pretty much a lot of them, and I kind of stopped and I said, I'm just going to use, because you could be buying a new one every day or doing something else. Is there any one particular that in your business that you couldn't do without?
Oh, that's a very good question. When it comes to AI, I think I would use that same analogy, as it's better to go deep than it is to go wide.
Yeah.
There's so many different tools out there and so many things you can implement. But what I think is most important is to, one, figure out what problem you want to solve and go deep on that. So I'll give a couple of examples. I have a coaching client, super cool guy, does mobile home parks. At first, I was helping him with hiring someone offshore that could help him with his property management. but we started kind of talking about AI and some of the different workflows that have come out, like and automation. So he was actually able to, using just Google Drives and oh my gosh, what's the name of the Zapier? Google Drive Zapier. He was able to replace his property management person. So yeah, it does everything. Whenever someone has a work order, they just fill out a doc, drop it into a Google Doc. The AI automates everything, sends out the work order, sends out emails. He has it really tuned in. So if you can figure out, okay, what is my problem that I'm trying to solve? Like I helped another company called Diversifund, and they had this huge book of business, right? So they have like 25,000 people who have invested with them.
Wow.
So their issue was like, how can we activate this list for what we're about to do? And it was like, okay, AI dialer, let's go ahead and create AI dialer. We'll train it so that way it doesn't say anything that's not in compliance. And we were able to make like, I think 1,000 calls in a day. Pretty amazing, right? Like, so that's what I would say. There's a solution for everything, and it's so easy to get lost in the sauce. But just pick one thing and hop on ChatGPT and ask, hey, what AI tools are out there that can help me to solve this problem? And you'll be surprised at the results you get.
Yeah, and your results will probably come pretty quickly, and because I know that they have, like the AI dialer, 25,000 people on a list, they could go through that pretty rapidly, and then you just have to train it to qualify the leads and everything, and then that's a whole nother issue, and then do you want it to book an appointment, and then it's not really a question of how many leads can you get? It's like, how many leads can you handle? Because if you have a list of 25,000 and then, how many leads can you handle, then, how are you going to process? Then that's the next step. Like, are you going to personally reach out to these people and speak to them? And, and that's, there's something to be said about AI is great and everything, but the human touch, I think, is going to be much more valuable going forward, because like if you connect, you can't really connect with AI. Well, maybe you can later. That might be something new, but that may be where the private dancer comes in, but that's a whole the human connection, like when you going to conferences and stuff, is going to be much more valuable. Speaking to people on Zoom, phone calls and stuff. There was something I learned when I was in the corporate world, that like when people were at a certain age, you had to go in their office, shake their hand, look them in the eye. The next generation after that, you could call them on the phone. You had to call them on the phone. And one after that, it was email. You had to email them. After that was text. And then the next generation was whatever the app is. And now whatever app is the newest, whatever they're using, they're connecting through that, and then there's a multitude now. So people don't even, you go to conferences and stuff, people don't even get your contact information. And I'll just look you up on whatever it is, LinkedIn, pretty much, if you're in the business world, or, Instagram, if you want to connect socially, Instagram or Facebook. Well, I guess you got to be 50 or older to connect on Facebook. Younger people look at you like you're crazy or something. Nobody uses Facebook.
That's what my grandparents use.
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, but nowadays I liked your solution where you said, figure out what your problem you're trying to solve, and then just work towards that, because you could go down a rabbit hole of and just spend weeks on probably creating more problems than you need.
Exactly.
So no, that's really, really cool. And what was one skill that definitely carried over from being a professional dancer to your marketing and coaching that's invaluable?
Oh man, that's a good question. There's a quote I think I heard Alex Ramosi say it most recently, and he said entrepreneur is just a competition to see who can get like punched in the face the most and still get back up. It was something similar to that.
Yeah, I think I remember looking at something like that. It's like because you know we're all going to get knocked down. It's really how you get up and how you keep getting up. You know, and it's easy, you know, in this day and age in a 3-second world to quit. You know, to turn to other things like substance abuse, drinking, girls, gambling, you know, whatever you're into, and you can go down the rabbit hole on those. But to go to sleep that night knowing you're going to get up the next day and get your head kicked in and get up to it again and again, you know, that takes a special kind of relentless discipline to keep doing that, you know, but that's why we continue to do it. But we obviously enjoy what we're doing, you know. So what's the big picture for Josh?
Yeah, just big picture wise. Also, I wanted to kind of continue with the question you have because that was a really good one. That's the main thing I think I took from dance that has applied to everything in life is just learning how to take rejection, right? And then taking it maybe as redirection, right, versus rejection. So it's like, okay, I was told no in this situation. What does that mean? What information am I getting that I can apply now? So that way I can kind of change my inputs and get a different output, right? So I think that was like the biggest thing because after I got back from dancing professionally, I was in China, actually Beijing, and I got a call. My dad had a stroke. Yeah, it was really unsettling, right? I was like living my dream, but at the same time, there was all this stuff going on back at home. So it was an interesting period of time. But when I came back, I wanted to stay in San Diego just to be close and help them out.
Yeah.
And basically, the transition from dancing into like where I'm at now, it wasn't an easy transition. I had to kind of figure things out. I did a lot of self-education. Like I signed up for a few online courses and took those on marketing. My first idea was to start my own agency, and I was going around to like dispensaries at the time because they didn't have a lot of social media. Yeah, so I would go door to door to like all the different dispensaries in town and just like say, you know, I do social media marketing. I noticed you didn't have anything. And most of them said yes until I got one. I don't even remember how many people told me no, but I do remember the first place that told me yes. And that was my first pretty much agency client, right? And kept doing that. Eventually, I ended up working for a agency that did SEO, paid ads, websites for real estate brokers and mortgage lenders. And that's kind of how I hopped into the real estate side of things. At the same time, my mom and some of her church friends, they actually put together funds and started in fix and flips out in Arizona. So I always had that as an example to know what was possible when it came to real estate investing. They made some money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was really, I wanted to give a shout out to my mom. It was really her example there. And then my love for like content and storytelling that ended up kind of getting me to where I'm at now. And working with Raise Masters, I was working with them for about 3 years, and that really sharpened kind of my skills as well. But yeah, you just got to be relentless. There's no such thing as an L. It's just a lesson.
No, yeah, it is just a lesson, but no, that's really great that you learned from your mom that, you know, I didn't get exposed to a lot of real estate stuff other than buying a house and stuff like that early on. And, you know, I always knew it was a good thing because I saw a lot of people doing very well at it, but it's, you know, you don't know what you don't know until you see somebody doing what you know you can do. Because I know it helped me a lot was like if I see somebody doing it, then I can do it.
Exactly.
You know, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, and that's you know, and a lot of times like people think a lot of these things are risky, but risk is all it's all relative, because like flipping houses and stuff for me, people, I see it as kind of risky because I don't know a whole lot about it and I've never really done it. But I've bought and sold some apartments and stuff like that in a short period of time, which is kind of like a flip, but that wasn't our intention with the building. We're planning to keep it, but so for me, that I would see that as risky, and then people look at me and say, "Oh, development, that's risky," and this and that, and I'm like, well, our development, our partners and stuff like that are 30 plus years doing it, so I have a 100% comfort level with them because they know it back and forth, and their plan is they've proven it over and over again, and they move when they need to move and do those things. And then you see other people doing all these other types of things that mobile home parks and funds and RV parks and long and short-term rentals. And I even had a lady on that built a software for midterm rentals, which I didn't really understand that was a big thing in the insurance world. So there's, like if somebody, even in San Diego, if something happens where their house catches on fire or something happens, their house gets flooded, a pipe breaks, they get displaced, they got a family, they probably want to stay in the area. The insurance company will pay you as the homeowner a premium because you got maybe a family of 4, they got to put them in hotels, pay for food, and they'll pay more because they don't want to move from the area because they want to keep the kids in the school. So I thought it was a great niche and it solved a great problem, going forward. So well, this has been really great. I just wanted to thank you again for being here. But for people that want to find out more about your coaching and your marketing strategies and Raise Masters, how would they find you?
Oh, thanks again. Best way to find me is on LinkedIn, Joshua S. Washington. If you shoot me a DM, I'd love to kind of hear what you guys have going on and offer any help or connections that might kind of help you with your goals. So yeah, just shoot me a DM. Always there, always checking, and always open to communicating.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I can always catch him on LinkedIn, and I know he's helped me a lot in my marketing journey and a lot of the coached me well and Raise Masters and everything. So feel free to reach out to him. He's been a big help for me. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with all this stuff and sharing your story.
Right on. Thank you, Scott. It's been really cool being on this podcast after watching it on LinkedIn a few times. So appreciate it again.
Yeah. Well, this is the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast, and thanks again for you guys watching. And just a reminder, the best investment you can make is the one you make in yourself. See you guys next time. Thank you.